Hi, and welcome to Sip Sip Hooray, the podcast where wine is always fun. I'm Mary Babbitt.
And I'm Mary Orland. We are here to inspire you and to introduce you to some fun wine people, and hopefully you'll learn a little bit more about wine and be inspired to try something different. Get out of that Chardonnay and Cabernet rut.
And today we're going to party because we have a little bit of wine to taste.
Oh, yeah.
Also today we've got some new stuff for you in the Wine Buzz, which is our segment about what's going on in the wine world, the latest and greatest news in the world of wine.
And don't worry, it won't be too geeky. We just want you to have some really good tidbits to, toss out there when you're at your next wine tasting.
Yeah, or the cocktail party or whatever. So, Mary O, you want to kick us off with something new?
Sure. Right now, the most exciting thing happening in wine country, at least in Napa Valley, is the Prisoner Wine Company has come to town with a new tasting room.
Ooh, they've got their own place now.
They do. They are in what was the Franciscan Winery tasting room. Both brands are owned by Constellation, one of the biggest wine companies in the country.
Yeah, Franciscan's an old brand, right?
It is, right, yeah. So they totally redid the tasting room, so now it's got the theme of there's nooses hanging up outside. You can do selfies with them.
Who doesn't want a new selfie?
Exactly, and it's got all the things you might expect to see in a prison.
Right,
so
shackles and whatnot.
But it's the way you can go try The Prisoner, which has that label that was taken from a painting by the Spanish artist Francisco Goya. It's a little bit dark,
Sure, yeah. Fitting with that kind of dark red blend, which is so super popular. I mean, I remember when that first came out and people were like, have you tried this wine, The Prisoner? And it was kind of an accessible cab blend, Cab, Zinfandel. Yeah. What else is in there?
Yeah. I don't even, a bunch of stuff. It probably changes every vintage.
Maybe so. But it's a powerful wine, but not that tannic, right? So it made it kind of approachable.
Well, one of the little secrets about The Prisoner.
What, Mary? Tell us.
Folks in the wine industry know this, but it's a little bit sweet. Now, it doesn't taste perceptibly sweet, but there's a thing called residual sugar, which means the wine is not fermented completely dry. So they leave a little bit of sugar after fermentation, which just makes the wine more fruity, makes it a little bit smoother. And, most of America has the Coca-Cola palate, so it's very pleasing to a wide range of palates.
Oh,
and I think
goodness.
That's probably why it flies off the shelf. It's very approachable, very drinkable.
No, now I get it. Like, I'm such a sugar person that no wonder my body immediately responded to this, like Pavlov's dog or something. Sure. And like, I like it.
And a lot of the red blends that are so popular now, they all have just a tiny bit of sugar. Residual sugar is the same thing as leftover sugar, or it's not added sugar.
Right. I was just going to ask.
It's just from the natural process of fermentation. Fermentation is basically converting yeast and sugar into alcohol.
So they just didn't take it all the way out.
Exactly.
Okay. Yeah. All right. And then all of us sugar addicts went like, oh, that's so good. No. So now you can go to the Prisoner Winery, right? And is it one of those places, do you have to make an appointment? Can you just show up, or what's the deal?
Yeah, you do. So nowadays the big thing is having experiences. Millennials love experiences. I think everybody loves an experience. It's better than going to belly up to the tasting bar. That's so old school now.
I loved that.
You and the tour bus, right?
My people.
So, there's a regular tasting experience. It's $45, close to $45, and they say that reservations are recommended, but then they have more in-depth experiences like a food and wine pairing, or maybe with a tour and tasting, and you do need to make reservations. So, and most of the wineries, especially in Napa Valley and Sonoma, are like that these days.
Yeah.
They want to manage your visit, make sure you get personalized attention, have a great time.
Which, okay, on one hand, that's great because you are going to have a really good time. Mm-hmm. You're probably going to get some nice little nibbles along with your wine. Mm-hmm. They're going to make sure you have a personalized experience, as you said. Exactly. You're not going to be inundated by a whole bunch of idiots in the tasting room bugging you. Mm-hmm. So there's that end, but it's also cost more.
It does cost more. So what folks are finding is that, when it was just tasting bars, people would hit maybe 5, 6 or more wineries in a day. Now it's like 2 or 3 because the experiences will take 45 minutes to an hour or so. And, so you can't cram more than 2 or 3 into a day.
Right. So you're staying longer. And they're probably selling more that way because, have you been where there's so many people you're just kind of shoving your glass forward, like, just fill me up again. Let me try the next one.
And you might want to know something about the wine, and they don't have time. They're just like, they pour it and move on.
You're like, what are we drinking? Who cares?
Exactly. Just drink it and then buy a bottle. And join the wine club.
All right. So The Prisoner, and it's on, tell me again where?
So it's on Highway 29 in Napa Valley in St. Helena. If you're going north on Highway 29, it's on the right side. And also as part of the visiting experience here, there's something called the Makery, which is kind of cool. You have the wine component, but then you have about 4 or 5 different local artisan producers. Maybe it's food or soaps or candles, pasta.
It's like the gift shop.
A gift shop.
Yeah.
But, it's all things that are made locally by
Handcrafted.
handcrafted from Napa Valley or the Bay Area. So,
cool.
It's something else to experience and a way to bring wine country home with you.
Absolutely. And give some help to local purveyors, which is always nice.
Sure. So, Mary B., what's on your mind?
Well, wine, number one. But so $2 Chuck.
Right.
We know it. We love it.
Yes.
It's been around, and now we're upgrading, Mary.
We are.
Yeah. There's a better, newer, better, more natural $2 Chuck, and it's actually $4. It's $3.99. But if you've seen it at Trader Joe's, it's organic $2 Chuck, which I can't even call it that. Organic Charles Shaw Winery. So let's call it, I guess, $4 Chuck. Is that?
Or how about $4 organic Chuck?
$4 organic Chuck. Doesn't quite roll as well.
I know it doesn't,
but I brought some for us to taste.
Cool.
And they have 5 different varietals now. And let me tell you, it's sourced from around California, and it's certified 100% organic grapes, which is an upgrade, right?
Absolutely.
So I think it's taking this really popular thing that people truly responded to, the idea that, hey, I don't want to spend a lot of money for my weeknight wine or whatever, my non-special occasion wine. So, but they now are saying, okay, maybe you want to save some money, but maybe you also want a little bit, something a little bit more natural and a bit of an upgrade. So for $3.99, you're going to have yourself an organic glass of wine. And there's Pinot Grigio, there's Rosé, Pinot Noir, Chardonnay, and Cabernet.
Wow.
One of the coolest things about it, I'm going to show you as we open this one. It looks like a cork. It's made out of cork, like composite cork or something like that, right? And instead of being a wine opener, it's a screw-on cork. So let me see if it actually pops open. Let's see.
Mary B. is twisting this cork out of the bottle pretty easily.
It made the noise.
All right, so you still have that celebration factor. Because what is wine without a cork pop?
Right, and that makes it a little bit fancy with that little... Okay, so let's start with the Pinot Noir.
Okay.
Again, $3.99 at Trader Joe's.
So I know what some of our listeners must be thinking. $4 Pinot Noir. I mean, is it going to be any good? Well, we'll taste it and let you know.
We'll give you the straight poop on this stuff. Let's see. Okay.
So it's kind of, it's I think, like a medium ruby color. It's you can see through it, which means it's not super full body.
Okay. Good enough.
Very fruity.
It's okay. Not bad.
A little bitter on the finish, I think, but it's super fruity.
Yeah. I'd give this I'd give it a B for sure.
Yeah, I'd give it a B, sure. With food, I think it'd be
with
much
food,
better.
right? With some
Much better. Well,
with cocktail hour, given the right time of day, this could be just perfect. Let me try again.
But I'd have this with pasta, with a nice marinara sauce and meatballs or pizza.
Yeah, it's a little there's something kind of flat about it for me, and yet it's not bad.
No, I mean
for $3.99.
Yeah,
when you weigh it against what you paid for it, it's delicious for $3.99.
Absolutely. Kind of of reminds me of, like a basic Chianti, actually.
Yeah. I mean, there's sometimes we've all had a really cheap wine that was just horrible.
Yeah.
And I've also had a really expensive wine that was horrible. But this is not horrible. This is not drinkable. It is perfectly acceptably drinkable. I would pour this for friends, and I would not be embarrassed to pour.
No.
Especially, and I would tell them it's organic.
You know what? And if you serve it a little bit chilled, I think that'd be a good thing.
Which I think is a good tip on a Pinot Noir. Not people usually serve at room temp, but I think a little chill on it, it goes down better.
It does. You don't want it to be ice cold like you would have a white wine, but, just a little bit, stick it in the refrigerator for half an hour before you serve it. It'd be perfect.
It's going to shape this Charles Shaw $3.99 right up. Okay, we're going to pour that one out because I have a Chardonnay. No, did I bring the other one? Pinot Grigios.
Okay. We're going to go a little backwards, but hey, we can handle it. We're pros.
Is that backwards to go red then white?
Not always, but usually.
Okay. Oops.
But hey, it's our show. We can do what we want.
And it's $3.99, so who cares? Okay, ready?
Okay.
Here's the other one. Oh, it's very satisfying.
Awesome.
Oh, and also, so the Delia, you can stick this right back on. You can recork it super easily.
Perfect.
Because it's got a little bit wider on the top. You just push it right down.
Okay.
So I would actually save those for your other bottles.
I love that. That means you can take this on the go, like for a picnic.
Yeah,
Or something
absolutely.
where you don't have to take a corkscrew along.
Okay, Mare. Probably should have poured the rest of the red out, but so it's a little tinge of pink in there, but who cares? Okay.
So this is a 2017 Pinot Grigio.
So it's aged just a little bit.
When you're...
Very fruity, kind of sweet, but very fruity.
And it's almost a little bit floral, too.
Mm-hmm.
I like that.
I like it okay. Yeah, it's a little sweet for me. I'm not really a sweet wine person.
Sweet.
So a little, except for I did like the Personal. Who knew? I've always said I'm not. Maybe I am. Anyway, this one is a little bit overtly sweet for me. But I think it's very fruity, and I think cold. Ours is room temp. Sorry, Mare. Ours is room temp, but I think cold, again, like with maybe like a cheese plate or something, this would be really nice, huh?
Yeah, absolutely.
The point is, it's $3.99. It's organic, and it is an upgrade. If you liked original $2 Chuck, you're gonna love this because it's a little bit better and it's organic.
So, Mary, do you remember? Mary B, do you remember we have to distinguish between me, Mary O, and the
Mary
other
Babs.
Mary Babs. We used to call her Babs on the show. I mean, when we were off camera. Do you remember the show we did where we thought it'd be fun to get together a bunch of wine lovers and have them taste some wines blind? And so we snuck $2 Chuck, and this is when $2 Chuck first came out. We snuck it into the lineup for Chardonnay and Cabernet. And so we started, of course, with the white and went around and did the tasting with, there were 3 wines, and everybody voted for what they liked, and we knew it was the Charles Shaw wine.
Yeah.
And so when we did our big reveal and pulled the bag out, the bottle out of the bag, you could have... I mean, all the gasps and people were just stunned and surprised. It was a great TV moment.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, because, so much of the way we experience wine is through the label. It's through knowing, oh, this is going to be special. Oh, look at that. And it's like that whole experience. It's telling your brain, this is a fancy, lovely wine. Get ready to love it. Get ready to really enjoy this wine. So when you don't see the label, when you don't know how much you paid for a wine, when you're truly tasting blind, are our palates really that refined to know, good from bad? Mine certainly is not. I'm going to own that right now. I don't have a clue. So that was so fun to see people vote for the $2
there were
Chuck.
some really serious wine people in that tasting, and they were like, "Oh my God," they couldn't believe it. But it just goes to show you, we can be so tricked by price.
Yeah.
Thinking, oh, it's a $50 bottle of wine. Not that I would open that any day, but for a special occasion. But some folks think if it's more expensive, it's got to be better.
Yeah.
And honestly, not always.
So this is, I totally agree with you, Mary. And let's raise a glass to the cheaper wine
There
that we
you
can
go.
all just enjoy
Exactly.
without guilt.
Right. It's a great weekday wine, or just, if you want to open a bottle by yourself,
You have our permission, okay?
That's right.
You're good enough.
And if you
you're
don't
smart
finish
enough.
it, it's okay. You only spent $4 on it.
And this cork is easy to put back in the bottle.
Then stick it in the refrigerator.
Absolutely. All right, so that was my wine buzz. Keep drinking so you can be buzzed.
Sip, sip, hooray to that.
Thanks.
So, this item is kind of super cool, especially for wine geeks out there. But, so you know what a regular wine barrel is, right?
Yeah, sure.
It's
The
an oak barrel,
wooden thing, yeah.
The wooden thing. It's about 60 gallons, and it has 2 heads, and then kind of the, fat little barrel.
Mm-hmm.
And something that has become very popular in about the past decade or so is something called a wine egg, which is a concrete vessel. It's shaped like an egg, and that's why they call it an egg. But
Cement? Ooh.
or concrete, and it's actually taking something from old school winemaking, where in Europe, if you go to some of the older wineries, they have all these huge concrete tanks that they would ferment and age wine in. And if you think about it, wood is a little bit permeable, so it lets a little oxygen in, which helps wine age, and also helps when wine is fermenting, get some oxygen in there.
Yeah.
And it kind of improves the texture a little, it gives it some texture. And people found that these concrete eggs, because of the shape and the material, they really like fermenting some white wines in it because it gives it a little bit more crispness and a little bit more texture.
Does it let air in?
A little bit.
Okay.
But they don't age it in the concrete tank. Well, this one barrel maker, which we call a cooper in the wine world. A cooper is a wine barrel maker, or any barrel maker really, because they can make whiskey barrels, they can make barrels for beer.
Okay.
Any alcoholic beverage.
Yeah, I think I've heard of a cooperage.
Where they make these,
Coopers
right?
make their cooper.
So there's a French firm called Seguin Moreau, and hopefully I didn't butcher it too badly, but they debuted a big wine barrel that is a big round sphere.
Okay.
So
made
out of wood.
Okay. Oh.
Yeah. And so here's a photo. I brought that, and I'll post it on our website.
So taking that egg idea, but making it out of wood.
Egg. Yeah. So here it is. It's huge.
Wow, it is. What does that cost?
So a regular wine barrel is brand new French oak, which is the most expensive. Can be about around $1,500 to $2,000 per barrel.
That's kind of a lot. I didn't know that.
It is a lot. American oak is a little bit less expensive, but still, brand new barrels are a major investment for any winery.
And how many times do they use them?
Well, it depends. It's up to the winemaker and their style. Some just use them once and then they sell them.
Wow.
Some will keep, they'll use it, they'll put, like if they're doing a oaked Chardonnay, they might put maybe 25% of the wine batch into the new oak, and then maybe they have a barrel that's been used once or twice, or maybe even 3 years. And once you get beyond 2 years or so, the barrels are really neutral. They're not imparting any of that oak flavor we've come to expect, like vanilla, caramel, some spice, like even clove or something like that.
Okay.
All those spices, cinnamon and red wines and clove and red wines, that all comes from the barrel.
So if the old ones were $1,200 or $1,500, what is that giant wooden egg one?
So this holds about 400 gallons, and this is brand new. It's a new geeky thing. 50,000 euros. It debuted at a wine trade show called Vinitech, which was in Bordeaux back in November 2018, and so 50,000 euros.
Wow.
Which is the equivalent of, it's 57,000 US dollars.
Whoa.
In that range. So, yeah, it's going to be, I don't know.
But how many, one egg is equivalent to like how many barrels?
So, gosh, that's a good question. One egg is
So I guess I'm wondering how many would a winery need to purchase? But I guess that's just for your special cult wines,
just for your
right?
special cult wines. There's a lot of wineries do experiments with. Most of the wineries I know that have the eggs have maybe one or two, and those are anywhere. The capacity is anywhere from about 450 to 500 gallons and on up. A regular barrel is about 60 gallons. So they're not putting every single wine in the concrete egg, and I can imagine they're not putting everything in the spherical
It'll be interesting
barrel.
to see if it makes a difference, though,
Well,
right?
They've just launched this, and they're saying that it's good for adding even more texture and rounding out the wine. So, it's still very much in the experimental phases, and it'll be interesting to see who the early adapters are.
Yeah, yeah, and so everything that's brand new starts out more expensive, and then as it gets, if it works, they keep producing things like that, and they figure out cheaper ways to do it. So,
and maybe they don't need this big, huge sphere. It's like this huge globe of wine,
right? But probably those wineries that do invest in it will make it part of your tasting experience and charge you to go look at it,
right?
And then make the cost back, right?
Exactly. But anyway, it's very Instagrammable, don't you think? I want a selfie with it.
With the egg.
With an egg. There's a lot of wineries in California that have those, so those are fun. But
the wooden egg.
The wooden sphere.
I'm sorry, they're not calling it an egg.
It's not an egg. It's spherical shaped, just like a globe.
Okay, right. Okay,
and it's made of wood. So and it's oak. So.
All right. Well,
and it rotates, so
all right. I'm gonna like a little spigot. I'll say that's buzzworthy.
Yeah.
I'm giving that a thumbs up on the buzzometer.
Cool.
All right. So you know what we need? We need a wine question.
Yes, we do.
All right. So let's see what we've got going today.
Hi, this is Dan from Seattle, and my wine question is: I like to put an ice cube in my wine, but I get these strange looks from people. Am I doing something wrong?
Oh, Dan. Actually, you're not doing anything wrong.
No way. I do it all the time.
Me too. And people are so surprised when they see me put an ice cube in my wine. Like, oh my God, what are you doing? You're going to ruin your wine. Like,
I had a great glass of cake bread Chardonnay last night at a party up in San Francisco. Was at a bar, a hotel bar, and it wasn't quite cold enough for me.
Yeah.
And I can't say, well, actually, can you put this in the freezer, this glass of wine in the freezer or in the fridge and cool it off? It's not going to get any colder in my glass. So I'm like, hey, I said to the bartender, can I have a couple ice cubes in here? And he was totally fine with doing it. And it made it better for me.
Well, absolutely. And, one ice cube is not going to dilute that wine too much. And if it makes it better for you to drink, why not? And as we know, in this country, wine is served too warm or super, super cold. But when it's too warm, and this goes for white and red, plop an ice cube in it. It's okay. And people are always like, oh, I can really do that? And you're like, yes, you have our permission. Tell them that a certified sommelier said, yes, it's perfectly fine. So, Dan, don't worry. When people look at you strangely, you can say, well, the gals on Sip Sip Hooray said I can do this, and I have their permission. So. Yeah, so it's like get with the program.
That is all the authority you need.
Dan, all the cool wine people do it.
No, but we've talked to a lot of winemakers who say A-OK, because really, and we've said this so many times, but what it's about is your personal enjoyment of the wine. So if having an ice cube in your wine makes it taste better to you, then bravo. What a winemaker really wants is for you to enjoy their wine.
Exactly. They're not like, you have to drink it at a certain temperature or whatever.
In a special glass.
Oh, no.
No. Yeah.
That's a whole nother topic. But so I'll confess, when I'm at home, and sometimes if I want to have a white wine or a rosé and I haven't chilled it, I'll just go ahead and open it because I'm impatient. And I'll plop a ice cube in it, and I'll stick the bottle in the freezer so it gets cold fast.
Well, and honestly, I think a lot of people, I've done that too in the freezer.
You just have to set a timer, otherwise you might forget, and then you open it up and there's a frozen bottle.
Right. But I think a lot of people over the years have added sparkling water to wine to kind of extend it, so a little less alcohol. So you're getting kind of the taste without, so it's your kind of cocktail without the heavy duty alcohol. And to that extent, adding a couple ice cubes can have the same effect of like diluting it a little bit and allowing you to enjoy it longer, maybe.
And Mary B., do you know about wine slushies?
No, I don't know about wine slushies. How come you've kept this from me, Mary Orland?
Well, it's kind of a new thing. And so there are wineries who kind of make wine slushies. It's frozen wine, basically like, a frozen margarita, only it's wine. And it's refreshing, And so when alcohol usually doesn't freeze, but because there is a high water content in wine, it does partially freeze. So what you get is a little bit of slushy.
Wow, fun.
So,
that's a great summer little treat, right?
Absolutely, yeah. So, if should you forget about that wine bottle in the freezer?
Slushy time.
Slushy time, exactly. Don't let it go to waste.
Dan, thank you so much for the question. If you have a question for us, go to our website, sipsiphooraypodcast.com, and there's a button there that tells you how to submit a question. We love hearing from you, so we encourage you. Any question, big, small, silly, or serious, give it a shot. Record it for us, and we'll answer it for you.
Sure. And so we also want you to connect with us and be there on social media with us. So check out our Instagram and our Facebook at Sip Sip Hooray Podcast, and on Twitter, Sip Sip Hooray, the number 1. And we'll post some information from this show and other shows on our website, which is, Mary B.,
sipsiphooraypodcast.com.
That's right.
She did that because she knew I'd have to think about it for half a second, and I did. But
that's okay.
So that's going to do it for us today. Thank you so much for listening. We're going to get back into this $4 chuck. I'm going to go with the Pinot, and Mare's going to drink the Pinot Grigio.
But I need an ice cube first. All right, folks. Well, thanks for listening, and we'll see you next time on Sip Sip Hooray.
Cheers.
Cheers.
The days are getting shorter, and you can feel it in the air. Yes, it's that time of year. Pumpkin is finally back at Dunkin'. It's the cozy you've been craving all summer long, now in your cup at Dunkin'. Pick up all of your pumpkin favorites, like the signature pumpkin spice iced latte, or a pumpkin iced coffee, and bakery items like pumpkin donuts and muffins. Sip into something comfortable to celebrate the start of cozy season. Use the Dunkin' app for contactless ordering. America runs on Dunkin'.